I have now read Volume 1 of Berserk 3 times. I've now read the entire Black Swordsman arc twice. And this is the first time that I've read the Black Swordsman arc after reading the Golden Age arc. And it's just brilliant what the context of the Golden Age arc can bring to another read of the Black Swordsman arc. I felt like I was almost reading it for the first time because I was looking at this with a totally different perspective, with a fresh lens, and it's still so freaking enjoyable. I'm not going to hold that up the entire time because it is a little bit heavy. This vlog is going to be filled with spoilers, right? But I don't want this vlog to just be one big recap. So I'll only talk about things when I think they're important to talk about. So it might be a little bit all over the place, but it's really just my thoughts and feelings on this arc. Firstly, I mean, I can't remember what I said in my very first Berserk video. I haven't rewatched it, so some of the thoughts and feelings that I have might be similar to what I said in that video, but I honestly love and adore the art style. I love how gothic and the medieval setting plays into the story, like how desolate and hopeless it feels, and especially after reading the Golden Age arc too, the characterization of Guts is, oh my god, even that much more impactful. And when I first read the Black Swordsman arc, I had a feeling that Guts was hiding some trauma, and there were certain points within the Black Swordsman arc, such as him not wanting to be touched, and the very visceral reaction he had to being touched made me think that maybe he had been sexually assaulted. And yeah, lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. But now that I definitely know that, the moments when Puck is trying to heal Guts in the dungeon, and the way that Guts pushes him away, like, get away from me, is kind of heartbreaking, I'm not gonna lie. Don't touch me, don't you ever touch me. And he also goes like really silent when Puck asks about the brand, and he flicks Puck away again. Like, all of this trauma from what happens in Golden Age is so apparent. Like, did Muira plan all of this from the very, very beginning? Because it honestly seems like it. Just look at the way Guts is looking down and the pain in his eyes. He's repressing so much trauma from what he's experienced. I mean, yeah, Guts does come across as a bit of a dick. You know, he calls people small fry, and it doesn't seem like he cares a whole lot about other people. But there are always moments in the Black Swordsman arc which kind of humanizes Guts in a way that, oh, maybe he's not actually that much of a dick. Like, he actually has things that he's going through. And when Puck is like, oh, I feel it, I feel all of this pain and suffering, and it hurts Puck, it really hurts Puck, and you can tell that something has happened, you just don't really know what yet. But I honestly love how this is the first arc of Berserk before getting into why Guts is this way. I much prefer it being told in this kind of format. I do find the Black Swordsman arc quite exciting. There are some really good standout scenes and moments. Like, I love how action-packed the first chapter is. Fighting the Baron, it took 3 reads of Volume 1 of Berserk for me to fully understand kind of what's going on in the characters, because when I first read Berserk, and even the second time I read Berserk, I wasn't 100% sure what the entire goal was. I wasn't sure if the Baron was like the biggest bad of all time or whatever. Like, I was getting characters confused. But this time, I'm not saying it takes 3 reads of Volume 1 of Berserk to understand it, but I feel like I'm getting really comfortable in this world, which is a weird thing to say considering how uncomfortable this series makes me feel a lot of the time. It's gory, it's bloody, it's so draining as well. Like, my emotions, oh, chapter 2 with the reanimated skeletons and when Guts comes across the priest and his daughter, that is one of my favorite chapters ever, like, of any manga so far. And I honestly feel like it's just because it encapsulates what this series is pretty much about. And it's such an early chapter too. But the reanimated skeletons, that visual of Guts fighting them and them coming out of the ground, it's just terrifying and so brilliantly gothic. But also the moment when the priest, and this is just all rambly, I'm so sorry, but like when the priest is like, oh, don't worry about me, I've got God on my side. And then we end up finding out his daughter gets killed and then ends up killing her father and stabs Guts. It's like, where is God? Where is God? Like, this is chapter 2 of the series and I already feel so desolate and so hopeless. And where was God during all of this? You know, like, it's so gut-wrenching. Even Guts is like, initially, oh, you know, you don't want me hanging around, I've got evil spirits following me. That's quite an affliction, but don't worry, my friend, I have God on my side. And it's like, okay, so you have God on your side and then all of that happens. I feel like it sets the tone brilliantly. Like, yes, chapter 1 had all of that exciting fighting with the Baron and all this, that, and the other. It was great. But I feel like chapter 2 really solidified the hopeless feeling that you get from reading this. And even to this day, like, as I've been reading this, and all the stuff that happens with the God Hand and, like, the 5 members of the God Hand at the end of the arc, you kind of think, will Guts ever be okay? Will Guts ever escape his fate? And while you do get glimpses of that in chapter 1, you do get some backstory, some context, like a little bit. It's actually chapter 2 with all of this, the meeting with the priest and his daughter and what unfolds there, that really, I think, solidifies that hopeless feeling. Guts' dreams as well, I didn't fully, again, get the scope of what the brand actually meant until reading the Golden Age arc. So I appreciate it now more what Guts is going through. And I mean, I would be a pretty big dick as well if I was going through all of this. No wonder he's pushing Puck away. He just watched, I mean, again, spoilers for the Golden Age arc because that's where I've read up to. He did watch some of his friends die. He watched one of his friends betray him. And now we have like a new character in Puck in Guts' life. And he just wants to push him away. Don't come near me. You're going to end up dead. Essentially is what the feeling I'm getting from Guts is. I feel like he is pushing people away so that he doesn't have to re-experience what he went through in the Golden Age arc. Oh my god, like, I'm sorry, but this is like one of the most shocking moments I've ever read. I just loved it. And I shouldn't have really because it's like terrible what happened, but like, I love it. And also one of my favorite spreads ever. And even despite all of this, I love how Guts can still have some kind of sense of humor in all of this. So when Puck kind of saves Guts, and he's like, hey, I saved your life now, didn't I? But then he gets caught by a soldier, and then Guts instantly cuts the hands off the soldier that caught him. He's like, okay, now we're even. It's just kind of subtle the way that his humor is coming through, and it doesn't feel out of place because he is a very dark and grim character in this arc, that those light moments make sense. It really does fit. Oh, and Vargas as well. Poor Vargas. Seriously, I almost forgot about him. He's one of those people who you kind of make an assumption based off of first appearances because he kind of looks a little bit like the evil entities that are pursuing Guts. But you kind of push past that and you see that he's actually like a really good guy and he's been through so much as well. So it kind of makes you think you shouldn't really fully judge everyone at first glance, and especially after you consider what happens with Guts and his character after meeting Vargas and when Vargas finally dies. It felt like such a learning curve for Guts. And again, I don't know like what happens after the Black Swordsman arc in terms of the timeline because we go back in time with the Golden Age one. So I don't know if we continue to learn those lessons just yet and if Guts ends up opening up to more people. At the minute it seems like whoever does open up to him, they end up dying. Apart from Puck so far, I love Puck. I miss Puck in the Golden Age arc, but I love how Puck brings a certain balance to how dark and heavy this series is. Also, I love the fact that I can understand these kinds of moments when Guts sees the Behelit for the first time and when he's talking about Griffith. Oh my god, do I know now? Don't I understand his anger and his feelings towards Griffith and the complexity between them? I would always recommend reading Black Swordsman arc and then Golden Age arc and then going back to the Black Swordsman arc. Unless the arc after is a Conviction, unless the third arc is before Black Swordsman. I don't know where Black Swordsman fits in the timeline. I'll find out soon. But I somehow loved, and I already loved the Black Swordsman arc. I already loved the beginning of Berserk the first time I read it. But like, I love it even more now. And I even appreciate the Golden Age arc a little bit more now too, even though I think it's a perfect arc. I think it's a perfect arc. But I feel like I felt the genius of Muira by going back and reading the Black Swordsman arc because I can see all the seeds that were planted from the very beginning. And I'm just like, what a genius. What an absolute genius. I also couldn't help but think as well, just going back to Vargas and the initial repulsion of seeing him and the way that he looks now after what he's been through, I couldn't help but feeling there was some kind of parallels between Guts and Vargas, and maybe Guts also felt like he could sympathize or see himself as Vargas. Yeah, so when Vargas is about to die and Guts is like thinking, he thinks about when Vargas told him about when he was captured and he had to watch his family die. He sliced them up, chopped them off, and then ate them. Before my eyes, he took my wife and my sons. I was nothing but a prisoner of fear. Please avenge me. And then Guts like slams the wall. But he also looks like pretty sad there. I don't think he's crying, but he's like wiping his eye. And there is like a little bit of, it could be sweat. So he could be reminiscing or thinking back on what happened to him during the eclipse and him having to watch his friends die. And I feel like that moment there makes me think that Guts ended up feeling a lot more closely connected to Vargas. And that's why he punches the wall afterwards, because he's letting those feelings overwhelm and take over him when he's trying so hard to suppress them, when he's trying so hard to suppress the trauma he went through. And that's only when he goes to Vargas. I mean, obviously he's not going to try and save him because he already knows it's kind of a lost cause. There are too many people around, so I can't exactly fault Guts too much. Like, it was a trap and he wouldn't have been able to, at least maybe he could have, I don't know. Vargas was going to probably die regardless. So I just kind of love those touches of character work with Guts that I could appreciate more now that I have read the Golden Age. Even when Guts is like, ambition comes with a price attached, of course that price comes too high if you die for nothing. The reward for ambition, too great, is self-destruction. At this time as well, Puck is, you know, it hurts, dark and violent emotions pound into me, self-hating, destructive, burning like black magma. Puck says, is this the source of Guts' strength? So I'm like, is Griffith the source of Guts' strength? Because he's kind of using words that Griffith kind of uses a little bit later in the Golden Age arc. It feels like there's so much more influence and power with Griffith, and Griffith is a driving force. Like, Guts wants revenge for what happened, and when Griffith does finally appear in this arc, you see the lengths that Guts will go to in order to get his revenge. Even if the odds are stacked against him, he will still try. And I don't know, it just makes me think a little bit of when Griffith was given his speech in Golden Age and Guts overheard. It just feels like there's some influence of that speech in some of Guts' behaviours in the Black Swordsman arc. I mean, I need to reread the Golden Age arc next so that I can fully remember what this speech was really about. But, God, I'm just so glad I'm doing this video again. Like, I know I was supposed to do this ages ago, but, like, now's the right time, I think. I'm starting 2024 right. I was reading all of this last night for New Year's with a glass of wine, ringing in 2024. I can't think of a better way of ringing in 2024 than with some graphic, gory deaths and fights. So I did get so sad when Vargas died, but when he tells the Count, death will be paying you a visit soon enough, along with the hundreds of victims you've killed who'll drag you down to hell with them. And then later on, when the God Hands have been summoned, and the Count is dragged into hell, and Vargas is one of them who's dragging him. Oh my God, that's beautiful. Even though it's like so awful, and I feel awful that Vargas is kind of one of those souls damned for eternity. It doesn't look like a very nice afterlife to live. I still feel good that there was some kind of poetic justice there for Vargas. And you gotta take the wins when you can with the Berserk manga, because it feels like these wins are maybe a bit few and far between, like the kind of wins in terms of light in the darkness. Oh my God, I love Berserk so much. I do. I'm just like flicking through again, just soaking in the gorgeousness of it. It's brutal, it's nasty, it's gory, but it's gorgeous. So when Puck gets taken by the Count and given to Teresia kind of reminds me of Princess Charlotte. I don't know if this is like fully accurate. Like, this is a reading that I'm only enforcing on this scene after what happens with Princess Charlotte and her father in the Golden Age arc. But the moment when Teresia is in her bed and the Count goes to touch her, and the fear in her eyes, you still won't let me touch you. I'm like, has he done something to her in the past that, again, it's very reminiscent of what Princess Charlotte's father does to her? Because it can't just be the fact that he's locked her in that room for 7 years. There is genuine fear in her eyes. Like, she is terrified of him touching her. And the first time she sees him as a monster is later on when Guts is fighting him. You really see the shock and horror on her face when that happens. So it's not like she's scared of him because he is this awful being. Some things must have happened, and honestly that's so heartbreaking. It again gives Teresia a different kind of context, especially since it seems like Teresia might come back for some revenge against Guts at the end of this arc. So this might not be the last time we see of her. At least I hope we see her again, because I feel like she can also become such a complex character, and even just that moment alone with her father is enough to make me think, damn, this could be a very complex character. So yeah, the fight between Guts and the Count is riveting stuff. Absolutely riveting stuff. The way that he just swans into the castle, takes out so many soldiers, and gets to the like kind of throne room place, and then the Behealer kind of gets awakened and summons a God Hands and all of this, that, and the other. Just fantastic. Honestly, like, this is a really, really good, exciting arc. It lays the foundations of the series beautifully, and I think just solidifies those themes of hopelessness. I think Guts mentioned something about after death there is nothing at all. But also when we finally get to that alternate reality, oh my gosh. Also, the anger in Guts' face. He scares me. Feckin' hell. I'm terrified of him, but also low-key simping. Like, look at that. Look at how exciting that is. Like all those stairs and like it's like the alternate reality and the alternate universe. What is it? The great ones are coming. It's another dimension. Okay, it's an alternate dimension. Okay, that's what it is. And I'm just like, like how can you not love this arc? Like how can you not think it's brilliant? And then the members of the God Hand, like chills, absolute chills. Even now I've got chills. Like oh my god, the way that Griffith is like still swimming around in your pitiful existence, I see, and the upset in Gut and shock in Guts' face, and just how awful Griffith is to him. His petty existence is beneath our notice. I'm like, that hurts. After reading Golden Age, that hurts. Damn, like their relationship is like so complex. I cannot wait to see how that develops. So interesting, so amazing. Now all of the reactions that Guts has to Griffith, the way that he blames him for everything, makes so much sense. Especially when it's like you stand there putting on airs like you're some kind of godly being. He's like, but I put you there. Thanks to me who's writhing around in my own blood, you stand there. You know, it's like, you wouldn't be there if it wasn't for me, Griffith. I don't think I've ever read a pairing before that's been this intensely interesting. And I can't help but think that maybe there is no way out for Guts. Like, ever. He's gonna keep fighting until the very end, but I'm like, is there not gonna be any kind of, I don't know, light at the end of the tunnel for Guts? It's like, what is the end goal for Guts? I mean, he's gonna die, but is he gonna suffer for eternity? Like, that doesn't feel like the right kind of ending for a protagonist. For Guts, who has been through so much and doesn't deserve any of this, really. But then, yeah, all the scenes with Theresia and how Guts actually does save her from dying, even though she's like, she wants to die after witnessing her father dying. And yeah, Guts saves her from that. And like how angry she is to him. I'll kill you, devil. Someday I swear I'll kill you. And then when Guts is walking away, he looks sad. He looks like he's crying. And I feel like maybe he's thinking back to when he accidentally killed the young boy of the father he killed in Golden Age. Again, I'm going to reread it after this. But yeah, the moment when he accidentally kills him, when he witnesses his father's death, and Guts doesn't like leave any witnesses, and Guts realizes it's a child after killing him. I can't help but feel like maybe he's thinking of that during this moment, maybe. Like seeing how Theresia blames Guts for her father's death and how much she hates him. I don't know, it feels like a sort of parallel to the boy who didn't have a chance to exact his vengeance against Guts because he also died right after seeing his father die. I don't know, there's like so many different complex feelings that I don't fully understand yet, but I think I will be able to the more that we read of Berserk and the more arcs that we get through. But honestly, I just think it's so fantastic. It's such a great start to the series. I honestly just feel like it was just such a great start to it. It had the right balance of action and character building and world building and yeah, I just love it.